Dad's ability to find fun and help others smile endeared him to the staff of the hospitals and the rehabs. And I believe that it was this fun-loving spirit that helped him to cope with his pain and the uncertainties of his health and future. And I think he learned that through his life with a large family that had lots of medical crises and then his own struggle with polio. I will greatly miss my dad for the twinkle in his eye and our shared moments of humor, fun, and playfulness. Sorry. But thankfully, as I adjust to life without him, I am cheered when I remember laughing together with him. Thank you, Dad, for loving me through your humor and being the faithful father that you were/are. My siblings and I are honored to speak about him today during this worship service, but you may want to tell some stories yourself to others. So you will have a chance to do that if you come over to the reception later on at the Lake Lure Inn from 4 to 7. There will be storytelling and music and food and good conversation together. So, and we will share more of Dad's non-humor. Thank you.
I'm Clayton. I'm the number 1. The only son. He didn't get another chance on that one. Y'all covered some great points from Dad. He was just a real well-rounded guy. He was one of the toughest people I've ever met physically. If you ever just play fighting with him or punched each other in the shoulder, it was brutal. I mean, you get bruised. He was sinewy, tough, but on the inside, he was Cadbury egg. He was this soft, the nicest guy. Just a wonderful, wonderful man. You're here, I think you can attest, if you knew him. If you didn't like my dad, I think he had a screw loose. I just don't know anybody who didn't like him. He was just such easy to talk to. He made people feel at home. And I hope he passed it on to me. And when I grow up, if I ever grow up someday, I'll be just like him. He, write down a few things. He could, of course, physically, he had polio. He ran track. I mean, who does that? Not many people. And then there was this intellectual side. He wired, he plumbed, he did a lot of work on his own house. He was into carpentry. And as a child, a young guy, I wanted to watch Mighty Mouse and Underdog on the TV on Saturday morning. He was usually dragging me down a lot of mornings to the hardware store, which I used to dread because that meant we were going to have a chore to do, a job. And when I was young, I kind of dreaded it because it was like I wanted to do what I wanted to do, I wanted to play. But as I got older, I really loved doing that with him because he would tell me what was going to happen, what they were going to do, what we were going to do, how it was going to work. And he just knew so much about physical plants and carpentry and I mean, he was just a really smart guy. You would never know that if you're talking to him. I mean, you wouldn't know that talking to him. You're talking about individual stuff. But he would never come off as being somebody who, I know about that. He wasn't like that. The other things I was going to say is, oh God, he was just fun. Dad was really fun to hang out with. We played cards a lot at night, or other games, and he always had to keep score. I mean, that might have been a clue. But in retrospect, I think he and Mom would usually win. Scrabble and inordinate amount. And Grandma Jocelyn, and he had some drag-out battles on the Scrabble board. But I think Dad was just really smarter than I was, and that's the rest of us. And I think there might have been a little creative scorekeeping going on. railed on him all the time about it. And his comment would be, I'd say, Dad, I know you have to be cheating because you just can't win that often. And he said, what? That was his, what? He taught us a great love of animals and respect and treating them well, husbandry. I'm a veterinarian. Go figure. I love working. I work with small animals. Wasn't tough enough to do large ones, but we raised ducklings from eggs in an incubator. We had rabbits. We just had it all as kids. And then we moved to a farm. We had sheep. The girls had horses. We had as many dogs as we could stand at the time. They seemed to always be outdoor dogs until later on. And I guess finally what I want to say is, what I learned most from my dad, he was a humble guy. He didn't look down on anybody. We'd go out in public, and I don't care who it was. It could be some guy sweeping the street, whatever. Everybody was his equal, and he treated everybody with respect. And that's something I'll take with me, and I try to live my life like that as well. And with Mom, what a great team. I can go into a room and talk to people and not be afraid. Because, I would watch him go in and say things to people in public that didn't look like they really probably wanted to be talked to. But you know what? They would come alive and they would they'd have an interchange. It was great. It was, Dad, I love you. I miss you. But that was great. I'll keep reading for a long time. Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, I'm Melanie Watkins McMaster. For those of you that may not know me, I'm the youngest favorite daughter. Just wanted to, following David Letterman's lead, I want to share with you top 10 lessons that I've learned from my dad. Number 1, dinner etiquette at its best. As Laura mentioned, there was throwing napkins, there was also potatoes, and the best was playing the crystal glasses, where we had different amounts of water, and we would play the rings of them and make beautiful music at the dining room table on Sunday. Number 9, fearless home projects. Dad would enter into any kind of project without fear. One time in Lexington, North Carolina, he was making the carport into a family room. So he built the brick foundation around, and it looked great. And then he turned around and he saw the riding lawnmower where the soon-to-be family room was. He did get it out, but it took some of his brain. Number 8, we've heard a lot of these, so I hate to go last, but I was last in line, or in the, not last in line, last in line. So a lot of these may have been taken, I apologize, but it's good to hear twice. He brought laughter to us all. So number 8, laughter is the best medicine. He made fun out of very uncomfortable situations and difficult times. When he was in the hospital, the nurses would come over and check his vitals and everything, and he would lean over and bark at them. Number 7, sports life gives you longevity. There's always ping pong playing. Pickleball camps were held during family vacations, and some of us were not that quick with the pickleball, and he loved sports, very competitive, and so the pickleball camps were a real challenge for him to deal with all of us. And there was always a tournament, ping pong, just tennis tournaments all throughout our lifetime, card games, of course, too. Number 6, the love of animals. As many of them mentioned, we had many, many animals. Dad provided a farm for us to have those experiences, from just regular dogs, cats, lambs, goats,
crow, chicken, ducks, amphibians, you name it. We had it all. Back in college, he also gave my mom a lamb that she kept in her sorority house. What was that lamb called, Mom? Peggy O'Shaughnessy. Lesson number 5, lake life at its best. There's bird watching, boating, and bobbing in the lake. They had these saddles that they would go out there, and it's amazing. He was a big man in stature, and he would just sit on that saddle, and Mom too, and just enjoy the lake life at its best, for sure. Number 4, family ties that bind. As I look around at all of you today, friends and family, definitely see that family ties are huge. From every part of the country, from every single corner of the country, you all have come, so thank you. Number 3, to be a person of impeccable character. As I talked with many of you, and as I heard today, you all saying that there's one common theme that comes through. And that's Dad treated everyone as his equal. And he listened to everyone, and he really heard what they had to say. Number 2, the strength of faith. Even through the toughest of times, my mom and Dad's faith gave them direction. Especially on those last days when we knew what Dad's plan was. The faith was huge, and just a testament to all of us that he's where he's resting. So, thanks, Clay. Number 1. Okay, look. The number 1 lesson I've learned from my dad is striving to live a life of grace. Dad, Grandpa Chuck, has blessed our lives in so many ways, and the lessons we learn will carry on in all our hearts. Thank you all. Thank you, Dad.
When Jocelyn asked me to speak with you all about Chuck's faith, I kind of racked my brain thinking, what am I going to talk about? Because as Clayton mentioned, we didn't have a lot of intellectual conversations about I'm not saying you couldn't like Clayton did. We just did. And then Jocelyn told me to keep it short, so that... But I got to thinking about him as a man, about some of his traits, and you all mentioned some, his integrity, his humor. Based on many of the stories that he and Jocelyn have told me about their marriage, I think he was patient. Sound like understanding. But the one thing that kept coming to mind, and it's the kind of summation of all this, is love. He's a loving man. And Jesus tells us that's the most important thing. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And there's nearly 200 people here today to testify to the fact that he was loving, and he was kind, and that he cared about others. And I think when any of us die, there's no greater testament that could be said of us, of our faith, than that we love. We did the very thing, the singular thing that God has called us to do. And I think as you look at Chuck, those of you who knew him better than I did, you see that thread throughout his playfulness, throughout his respect for others, throughout the way he welcomed people into his life and into his heart. And the one thing that I hope that we take away from this is that love and that desire to grow into that love, to be more and more the person and the people that God has called us to be. And I think that's the reason why Chuck and I never had those conversations. We didn't have to. I could see it. I knew it was there. I didn't have to ask.